Hello, beautiful faces. In this Git and GitHub course series, you will learn everything you need to know to get started using these amazing tools. Whether you are a beginner, just diving into development, or a seasoned coder, Git and GitHub are essential tools you absolutely need to master. In this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through how to use essential Git commands to manage your projects like a pro, and how to set up GitHub to share your work with the world and collaborate with your team without any headaches. So, by the end of this course, you will have a good grasp of these concepts and use Git and GitHub as a real developer. I am Ishaq and I'm super excited to be your instructor. If you are new here, be sure to subscribe as I upload new tutorials every couple days. Now, without any further ado, let's jump right in and get started. But first, let's clear one of the biggest confusions between a beginner developers, which is what is the differences between Git and GitHub. They sound similar, but they are actually two completely different things. As I mentioned here, simply Git is a local version control system, and GitHub is a remote hosting collaboration. What I mean by that, let me show you here. Let's start with the Git. Git is a version control system that allows you to track changes on your code over time. What I mean by that, you can think of it, it's like a tool that runs on your computer and keeps track of every change you make to your code or to your project. It lets you manage your project history. That's your project, and that's the project history here. Imagine you are working on that project and you want to be able to go back to any previous versions of your code at any point. Git lets you do that by taking snapshots of your work as you go. Each time you make a significant change on your project, you commit those changes, and this checkpoint is your commit. And Git will store the commit in a special database called repository. Repository, in simple way, we have the remote repository and the local repository. Here it's the local repository. It's like just a virtual storage of your project. That's what we mean by that. This means you can revisit previous versions or track who made specific changes in a team setting, for example. And GitHub is just a website or a platform where you can host your Git repository online. What I mean by that is remotely on the cloud, that everybody can share, can see your project or your code. So GitHub basically is a website was created to work with Git. So now let's know how to link your Git locally repository with the remote repository on GitHub. How does this connection will be? So I'm going to show you here the demo that will be sure the full image of this operation. So you created a project on your local machine. You make the folder and the files, everything the project needs, and now you initialize the Git. So Git will start tracking the files. How do we do that? By just on your terminal, if you are on the Mac or on the Windows on your bash, just type Git init. Git now is initialized, so we will start tracking all the files on your project. And at some point, you made a change on your files, on your code, for example, or any entirely file. So Git will saves these changes of project on your local machine. Now what you do is go ahead and upload the Git repository project onto GitHub. And the reason why we upload into GitHub, so later on your team can go ahead actually look at the project and pull that project onto their machine. Meaning a lot of the team members, as you upload a project, a lot of them now are able to see your changes, to the project. So your team members can now use it as well. Meaning you upload your project and now others can download that project using something called Git clone. So you do get push it up to GitHub, then with the Git clone to pull it down. Another reason why we are using GitHub, let's say you don't want something to happen to your coding project. So it's like basically uploading your project to the cloud, so it's always will be there and safety. In summary, Git is on your local machine. It's on your computer, I mean. And GitHub is a website that connected. It's a website on a remote server. And what you simply do, use Git push to connect to GitHub. So now your project is always connected to GitHub, and your project always now either pushing or pulling from GitHub. Those are the two most important connections that you need to know. In summary, Git is almost everywhere. More than 90% of software projects in the world use Git. That's why almost every job description for software development position mentions Git. So if you are looking for a job as a software developer, Git is one of the skills you must have on your resume. You should know it inside out. You should know it how it works and how to use it to track your project history and collaborate with others effectively. And that's exactly what you are going to learn in this course. In Git, first let's talk about many ways to use Git. We can use Git on the command line. So we open a terminal or a command prompt in Windows system to execute Git commands. This is the fastest and the easiest way to get the job done. If you don't like the command line, you are in luck, because most modern code editors or IDE stands for integrated development environments, today have built-in support for basic Git features. Let me show you here in our VS Code editor. So, for example, in VS Code, we have this source control panel, which gives us the essential Git features. There are also extensions available for bringing additional features for VS Code. The most popular one might be here is the extension called Git Lens. And this one, I already talked about this extension in my previous videos in this YouTube channel, so feel free to check out later. In this course, I will spend the most of the time on the command line. If you have never worked with the command line before, don't worry. I'm going to hold your hand and teach you everything step by step. It's easier. It's a lot easier than you think. So next we are going to install Git. All right, let's see if you have Git in your machine or not. And if yes, what version you have installed. To do this, you need to open a terminal or a command prompt window. So if you are on Mac, just press Command and space and type terminal. If you are a Windows system, click the search icon in the bottom and type CMD. So here is my terminal, and your terminal window may look different from mine. It doesn't matter. This is where we are going to execute Git commands. So let's check what version of Git on this machine we have. You can just type Git -- or -- version. Press enter, and here we go. My version here it's 2.30.1, and but the latest version at this time I'm recording this video, it is 2.46.1. So this is the latest one. I highly recommend you to install the latest one that you have. just go to this website, git-scm.com downloads. And once open your web page, here are the instructions for different systems that you can install from it. Now let's recap what we just learned in the part 1 of our course. We defined Git and GitHub in the details here, and we also demonstrate the map of how Git and GitHub works together, what the differences between them. And the whole map is here also, you can just revisit later. And also the better way how to use in Git in our editor and the command line, both of them. And finally, we learned how to install Git in the both operating systems, Mac OS and Windows. So next part of our course, we will dive a bit deeper. We will learn about the Git initialization and the essential Git commands. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.